I know, I'm all gussied up, but that's because I'm filming this on New Year's Eve. So, in celebration of that, even though this is coming out on like the 4th or 5th, grab a drink. I have a Modelo here. Cheers to the new year, and let's get right into it. Hey y'all, welcome to or welcome back to my channel, Scotty Cherie Reads. In this video, I'm gonna go over all of the books that I read while I was on my little hiatus from October, November, and December when I wasn't posting. There's a couple other ones from earlier in the year that we'll get into that I haven't talked to on this channel, but I just wanna do a review before my full end of year wrap up comes up or comes out, like those videos, like my top 10, best books, the worst books was disappointing, and my superlatives. All of that will be coming out in the next few days, but let's do a quick wrap up of the books that I haven't talked about yet. First up, we have none other than Okeke Emezi. I read You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty back in June. So I read this when I was on vacation back home in Indiana in June, and for some reason I realized that I never talked about this on my channel. So here we are now. If you don't know, if you're new to this channel, hello, I am Okeke Emezi's like biggest fan. This is like my 4th or 5th book from them, and I enjoyed it. So even though I really liked it, I gave it like a 3.5, 4 stars. It was just a little bit different. I think I'm just not a romance reader for the most part, so that's probably why it's a little bit lower than some of their other books. I'll have some listed here that are all like 5-star reads. This book is messy. Messy. So the premise is that our main character, Faye, is grieving. So her husband passed away unexpectedly like 5 years ago. And her and her girlfriends are like, all right, girl, it's time to move on. She meets this quote unquote perfect guy and is kind of starting this relationship. But little does she know, when she meets her boyfriend's father, she has a lot of feelings for him, and some of those feelings are very mutual, and the story just goes from there. So, obviously, from that premise, it's very messy, but they encompass grief, like intimate grief, so well, but simultaneously expressing the struggle and desire to move on from that. And I don't know, I think Mezi's writing is just fantastic. In terms of romance, this was a cool read, different than anything I've read before, and I'm excited to pick up some more Kweke Emezi. I'm thinking about reading Sun in the Morning soon. I have that, I own it. That's the new romantic fantasy, I believe. So we'll get into that in the new year and see how I feel. But yeah, You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty was great. 3.5 to 4 stars. Not my absolute favorite, but if you're interested in it, definitely pick it up. Next up, I listened to The Wager, A Tale of Shipwreck, Mutiny, and Murder by David Grann. Sorry, I'm looking at my computer for notes because I don't physically own this one, but I'll pop it up on the screen. And I don't want to say too much about the premise of this because it's just a shipwreck story. And if you're into that type of thing, I would say pick it up. I gave it about 3 stars. It's hard for me to rate nonfiction, but it was just very average to me. At the time when I was listening to it with my husband, we were road tripping from Indiana to Maryland for a family wedding. And when we were in the car, it was like push play, push play, push play. We couldn't get enough of it, but it wasn't super long lasting for me in my brain. The interesting part of this is not only like what people have to do to survive in extreme conditions, but also the human behavior aspect of it and how humans will turn on each other at a flip of a dime in order to survive, and how things can turn into anarchy very quickly. And that was very interesting. I did feel like it got a little bit repetitive when I was listening to it, but overall, if you're interested in shipwrecks and those type of things, I think David Grann did a good job of researching and laying it out in an interesting way. So pick it up, give it a listen. The audiobook was great if you're intrigued. Then I read The Memory Police by Yoko Ogawa for my local friend's book club. I don't remember what month, but it was before my hiatus, and I just forgot to talk about it in one of my wrap ups. And I love this book. I gave this 4.5 stars. I was so captivated with the themes of this novel. So, going into a quick summary, we have an unnamed main character who is a writer. And in this world, things start to disappear. So at first, it starts to be like ribbons disappear or like safety pins disappear and people just completely forget about them. Like they're all removed and from the memory police, and then it's like erased from people's brains. And our main character is a writer and like secretly trying to keep some of this stuff alive. And something happens and our main character's editor named R gets to a situation where our main character needs to hide R in the basement because he was going to get in trouble for something. I don't want to go into too many details. And this is just a story about what erasure of memory and loss of things and the trauma of loss means. And that's all I want to say. I feel like this is one that you should just go into fairly blind without just knowing that. Like, I think about this ending all of the time from what happens and what it means to be human and what it means for memories and how important memories are to who you are as a person and what society is as a whole. I think that's all I can really say about this, but I loved it. Pick it up, please. Okay, so the next clump of books, they were supposed to be for a secret project that actually put me into a reading slump. And that was, there's a test called Read Your Color Test. I'll have it linked below. And I did that test and I got equal parts a purple reader and a blue reader. So I was gonna do a vlog of reading 4 books that were related to the purple theme and 4 books that related to the blue theme. I didn't get to the blue books, but I did read 3 and got part of the way through the 4th book for the purple vlog, and that's what kind of put me into a slump. So we're just gonna talk about those books here. And for starters, I feel like I have an unpopular opinion about Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. So to get into this, let's start with the summary, and I'm just gonna read the flap because this is a book that you can spoil so easily. So let me just quickly read the inside flap so you guys know what this is about. It says, Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless, its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves thunder up staircases, rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. There is one other person in the house, a man called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks for help with research into a great and secret knowledge. But as Piranesi explores, evidence emerges of another person, and a terrible truth begins to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one Piranesi had always known. So this is like the weirdest mystery thriller I've ever read. And to be so frank, when I finished this book, I gave it a 2.5 stars. I didn't like the fact that I was just thrown into this world and it was so mundane and repetitive and I was just so bored. And eventually it builds up, and I think that the longer I sit on this, the more I can appreciate what a brilliant author Suzanne Collins, that's not the right one, Susanna Clarke is. I think that the themes and the tropes in this book, which I can't really explain here without going into spoilers, was done very well. I just still can't negate the fact that my reading experience with this book was not pleasurable to me at all. So, do I recommend this book? I think yes. I think just go into it knowing that it's gonna be a slug at the start and eventually it'll get moving and it'll become intriguing and you will be sitting with these thoughts for a long time. This is one that you want to find other people who have read this to discuss this book because there's so much conversation, deep conversation that you can have or you can take from this little novel. I know that seems really convoluted, but I think if you just don't let the hype get to you, and I think that was my problem, is that everyone talks about, like, this is their number one book, especially like last year. It was like so many people's number one favorite book of all time. And when I had those high expectations and I finished it, I was just left kind of like, that's it. But then it found its roots in me and I can appreciate it. I'm not going to change it from 2.5 right now, but I do think about it still. So I don't know. I think if it's intriguing, go for it. And if you have read it, talk to me in the comments. Obviously, if there's spoilers, let it be known beforehand. Don't spoil anything for anyone. But yeah, this was a weird read, but also a long-lasting read. Weird. I don't know. Okay, so the second book that I read for that Secret Project Purple Books vlog was the very popular Blood Over Bright Haven by Emma Wang. Wang, Wong, I do this every time. Let me know in the comments below what the last name, I should have looked it up beforehand. But I'm also going to read the inside flap of this because I think it's easy to spoil this fantasy book as well. So bear with me, let me just read the flap really quickly. For 20 years, Siona has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic, fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the high magistracy at the University of Magics and Industry. When Siona finally passes the qualifying exam and becomes a high mage, she finds her challenges have just begun. Her new colleagues are determined to make her feel unwelcome, and instead of a qualified lab assistant, they give her a janitor. What neither Siona nor her peers realize is that her taciturn assistant was not always a janitor. 10 years ago, he was a nomadic hunter who lost his family on their perilous journey from the wild plains to the city. But now he sees the opportunity to understand the forces that decimated his tribe, drove him from his homeland, and kept the privilege and power. At first, mage and outsider have a fractious relationship, but working together, they uncover an ancient secret that could change the course of magic forever, if it doesn't get them killed first. So, I feel like another fairly unpopular opinion. Hold the phone. I liked this book. I gave this a 3 to 3.5 stars. I think what Emma Wang was doing in this book, in terms of talking about feminism, class issues, people who are in positions of power that are abusing those powers and not caring for the poor. Does that sound familiar? Was a very good themes and intriguing themes to dive into. I think that the plot kept me so captivated with this. It's a very fast-paced book. I was eager to turn the page and see what was happening next. However, I think that the writing just didn't super work for me because it felt a little too on the nose. I know, I feel like everyone's gonna kill me because so many people love this book, but it just felt too on the nose for me. It felt a bit repetitive. I know that a lot of people who have similar feelings to me or similar ratings to me with this book, their problem is the main character, Siona, because Siona is very much a privileged feminist and it becomes really unlikable, but you see that growth throughout the book, and I think that that was done intentionally, and I think that ML Wang did that very, very well, so that's not my gripe. I just think the overall writing was a little elementary and on the nose. That's all I can say. I definitely still recommend it. I am still very eager to read The Sword of Kaigen, which is their debut novel. This is their second. I think the plot was great. I'm excited to read that one. But yeah, just kind of average for me. I would recommend it, but it's not going to be like in my top 10 like a lot of other people, unfortunately. All right, and the third book that I read for the Purple Books vlog was this little novella called A Short Stay in Hell by Stephen L. Peck. And I adored this book. This was a 5-star read for me. The premise of this is that our main character is a Mormon and he ultimately dies and he's sent to this hell, but this hell is not the hell that he imagined. It's a different kind of hell. And in this hell, there's this demon thing that's there. It's kind of funny. I love the humor in this book, but each individual person is sent to their own personal hell. And for our main character, the hell that he goes to is this infinite library. And it's not definite. So his whole objective is that he is supposed to find a book that tells his whole life story. However, when I say infinite library, I mean infinite. So there are books that have all A's for the whole book. There's some that's like A, B, A, B, and it goes on forever. And you have to take all of this time to find the book that tells your life story. And we follow him through this journey. And the mind fuck that I had at the end of this book, when I finished this book, I literally had to sit it down and just contemplate what time is, what reality is, what infinity is. Is there an end to anything? It was just, I need everyone to read this book. It's so short. It's only 100 pages, but you will be thinking about this book forever. Seriously. It's so good. Please pick it up. That's all I want to say. It's so short. Please, I need more people to talk about this fantastic novella. So those are the three books that I finished for that secret vlog. Those are my thoughts. Look out for my superlative video and my other end of year videos to see where they rank in my overall reading stats for this year. So now we're going to get into the books that I was reading in October, November, December that I just haven't talked about on this channel. And for starters, I want to talk about The Stepford Wives by Era 11. So I didn't know anything about the Stepford Wives. I had never seen the movies. I didn't even know what the premise was, even though it's a normal pop culture term. And to give you a quick summary, we follow our main character Joanna and her husband Walter, and them and their children move to this town. I can't remember, or obviously it's called Stepford, duh. They move to Stepford. And as they're getting to know a lot of the people, everything just seems a little too perfect. And I'm going to leave it at that. It's pretty short, but I was not expecting this to be a 5-star read. I loved this, and I loved both of the movie adaptations as well. I do want you guys to let me know if you want me to do a video that compares the book to the two different movie adaptations. I kind of want to do a series moving forward in 2026 on my channel because I did that for The Long Walk, which I'll have linked up above, and you guys seem to liked it. I had a really good time with it, so let me know if you're interested in that. But I was captivated with this. The ending spun me. I could talk about it forever. It was fantastic. So the next read, because I love the Stepford Wives so much, I picked up Rosemary's Baby by the same author, Era 11. So this is one that's easy to spoil, so I'm going to read this short blurb on the back really quick to tell you what it's about if you don't already know. It says, Rosemary Woodhouse and her struggling actor husband Guy move into the Bramford, an old New York City apartment building with an ominous reputation and only elderly residents. Neighbors Roman and Minnie Castevet soon come nosing around to welcome them, and despite Rosemary's reservations about their eccentricity and the weird noises she keeps hearing, her husband starts spending time with them. Shortly after Guy lands a plum Broadway role, Rosemary becomes pregnant, and the Castevets start taking a special interest in her welfare. As a sickened Rosemary becomes increasingly isolated, she begins to suspect that the Castevets' circle is not what it seems. So I feel like a lot of people have watched this movie or read this book, and I'm really late to the game, but another 4.5 stars. I think I like the Stepford Wives a little bit more because this was just a little bit more predictable, I would say, but this was also fantastic. I was captivated. I loved the movie. Yeah, I don't know. Year 11, I need to see if there's any other books that he's written because in October, I gobbled these two up so quickly, watched the movies and everything. So, like I said, if you want to see a book to movie comparison for either of these, just let me know in the comments because I think it would be a lot of fun. Okay, next up, I don't own this book, but I really want to buy it, and it is Immaculate Conception by Ling Ling Wang. I was super excited for this release this year because I read Natural Beauty last year and really enjoyed it. I gave it about a 4-star. It was Ling Ling Wang's debut novel, and I was really blown away by it. And very much so with Immaculate Conception as well. I gave it a 4-star, but I feel like sitting on it, it's more of a 4.5. I did like Immaculate Conception a little bit more than Natural Beauty, but this one's a little difficult to explain because there's a lot packed into this. And I think that could be its demise a little bit, which is why it wasn't quite a 5-star read. But let me get into the summary really quickly. So we have two girls, Inca and Matilda, and they meet in art school and they become really infatuated with each other and they cling on to their friendship like none other. That's the start of this. And then there's also something on the other end that's very tech interesting called the scaffold, which is this device or procedure that you can have that's implanted in your brain, and you can basically take trauma from someone else to relieve trauma from them to make their life a little bit easier, but also to kind of get to understand them even more intimately. There's so much more to this book than just that synopsis, but I think that you should just go into it and let the story be told to you. It was such an interesting read. I don't know how Ling Ling Wang comes up with this stuff. There's a lot of talk about class issues. I think that the depiction of what it means to be an artist and how that can be all encompassing for a personality is explored very well in this novel. I think that some people have issues with it because there is a lot of flowery writing and there's a lot of talk of art pieces and artists. But if you can get over that, I promise if you keep going through, it's going to be worth it in the end. So I know I read this from my book club, and I know a lot of girls at the beginning were like, I'm not an artsy fartsy girl, and this is just not doing it for me. But if you push through that first third, it switches up and it becomes really fascinating. There's a lot to unpack in this. I think that Ling Ling Wang put maybe a little too many ideas into one. I wish that she would have broke it up a little bit more or made the book a little bit longer. But I think that what she did was pretty good. I mean, it's a 4-star read and I suggest it to anyone. Yeah, it was great. All right. And then I picked up one of my most surprising books of the year, which is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. So I haven't read anything by this author before, and I just picked it up because I saw a lot of buzz for it. Even though it wasn't really like my vibe in terms of contemporary, it seemed like it was going to be kind of a boring story. This takes place in Antarctica, and there is a male main character named Dominic Salt, and he has 3 kids, and they live on in Antarctica for a specific purpose, a specific job. They are taking a bunch of seeds and storing them for generations and generations. Like after the world goes to shit, there will be a bank frozen of seeds so that the earth can regenerate itself, basically. And one day, a woman's body washes up ashore and she's somehow alive. And that's legitimately all I want to say. This story is so interconnected with trauma and tragedy. And I was so in love with the writing in this book. It was so beautiful. I cried multiple times in this story. I ultimately gave this a 4-star, maybe 4.5 stars, not quite a 5, because I think with the mystery that's happening in this, it's kind of a slow build, slow burn. I think that it wrapped up a little too quickly at the end for my liking, but the relationships in this book I will always be thinking about. I was so touched by this family and this woman who washed up on shore and the time that they spent together and what that meant and what they would do for each other and the romance that's in here that's slow burning. I ate it up. So I was not expecting to love this as much as I did because I think it was a little bit more slow paced than I would typically go for, but I was completely captivated in this. I feel like I want this to be a movie. I hope that it becomes a movie and I would be first in line to watch it. But yeah, Wild Dark Shore, I know this is a popular one this year and it deserves all the hype. Next up, I have another audiobook, and that is The House of My Mother, A Daughter's Quest for Freedom by Sherry Franke. Ooh, if you don't know the story about the Frankies, watch this movie that I'll have linked below. I'll have a picture here. I watched a lot of stuff and I've been really engrossed in this story about the Frankies and the viral like 8-passenger family YouTube channel. Ooh, these family YouTube channels just need to go. And this is Sherry Franke, who's the oldest daughter, and she's explaining from her perspective what was going on with this massively abusive mother and her acquaintance friend. What's her name? Oh my goodness. Jody Hildebrandt. Oh my gosh. The shit that they did with her younger siblings is just egregious. And I liked that Sherry Franke didn't go into too many details about the abuse that happened. She just talked about, the buildup and the abuse that she suffered and the feelings that she had when she eventually went to college and knew that her siblings were at home in probably worse conditions. And spoiler alert, they were way severe, and what that looked like for her. I think that this is a really hard thing, and I'm glad that she spoke out about this. And I know that now she puts a lot of her energy into advocating for rights for kids who are on these YouTube platforms, streaming platforms that aren't protected like people who were on TV or kids who were on TV. And I think that's really important. So if you don't know anything about this story, definitely give it a listen. It's well written. I was very shocked how well written it was. I would read something else that Sherry Franke would put out. I'm hoping that she continues to write because it was really good. I don't really know what else to say. I don't want to spoil. I mean, it's not really spoiling, but if you know the story, you know the story. It's just a lot to talk about. But it's just a good memoir from her, and I would say go support her, buy the book. You know, I bought the audio book through Libro FM, and yeah, I'll probably listen to it again. It was very interesting. If you don't take anything from this video, please read or listen to Nobody's Girl, a memoir of surviving abuse and fighting for justice by Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Oh my gosh, I don't know where to start with this. This is an insanely heavy read. If you don't know that name, this is one of the most outspoken survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell's sexual, mental, all of the abuse that you can think of. And what makes this even harder to read is that she actually took her life this year, I think right before this book was published. So obviously be in the right frame of mind to go into it, but I think that I think everyone just needs to listen to this because the way that this trial has been handled and this case has been handled is just bonkers. It's so bonkers. And she does not shy away from anything at all. And this poor girl, not only did she deal with, you know, disgusting Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, but she suffered more abuse before that even happened. And it shows how abuse can be cyclical and how she fought and fought and fought, you know, to better not just herself, but her life and her kids' life. And it's just so deeply sad. It's so sad. And there's parts in this book where it seems really optimistic, but you know, at the end of the day, you know, she ultimately did take her life. And yeah, I don't know. I just think that you need to go into it, be prepared. It is deeply moving. It is so profound. It is so imperative for people to read right now. Like, please, anyone, go buy this book and read it, and let's talk about it. Seriously. Okay, I'm sorry to leave it on a downer, but that book you absolutely need to read. And that's the last full wrap up that I have in this video. I do want to mention that I've also been reading the Goodreads horror top 10 finalist. And so far I've read Bat Eater and Other Names for Cora Zing, The Lamb, The Possession of Alba Diaz, and I'm thinking about picking up Play Nice next. These will be read in the next couple of weeks, so you will have this video at the end of January or the beginning of February, and I'm having so much fun reading the horror top 10. But that's it, really. Yeah, I just wanted to wrap up these books that I haven't talked about really quickly. Look out for, like I said, my top 10 best books, my worst and most disappointing reads, and then my 2025 Superlative Awards. And that will be the end of my end of year wrap-ups. So thanks for being here. As always, if you like what you saw, please hit the subscribe button below, leave me a comment, and I will talk to y'all soon. See you in the next one. Bye.